Welcome back to our podcast, The Green Future. I'm Kennedy.
I'm Carly.
And I'm Rowan.
Unfortunately, today we don't have any guests joining us, but we thought it would be a good idea to discuss our thoughts for what the future might look like following the announcement from Equipower Nexus that they're going to be focusing on distributed renewable energy networks in the future.
From excess waste created from going green to higher costs in everyday energy, the possibilities for our energy future may have many complications.
But if we succeed, there may also be many benefits, most importantly, the idea of a green future and slowing the imminent idea of climate change. So let's jump right into it.
3 main implementations of Equipower Nexus are locally implemented micro wind turbines and solar power, as well as the use of hydrogen fuel cells to replace fuel energy uses.
That's a crazy idea. Hydrogen-powered cars?
Well, hydrogen cars are actually already in use now, but the cost of production and lack of readily available fuel makes widespread implementation anytime soon unthinkable.
Whoa, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Why don't we start with this idea of widespread microturbines?
Yes.
Well, on a surface level, initial concerns with micro wind turbines starts with their intrusion on landscapes, their ability to anger citizens, and their obvious reliability on something inconsistent like the weather.
But in a world where a change must be made, maybe people will have to overlook the aesthetic of it all. But considering how many you would have to build, that may be a tall ask of citizens.
Speaking of the sheer amount needed to create an effective amount of energy, let's talk about the waste they create. Despite the fact that they use a green form of energy, the turbine blades need to be replaced every few years. Now that's something to tackle.
Now what about solar powers? Now what about solar power and the issues it may present? Just like the concerns with wind turbines, its energy production relies on something inconsistent. In this case, it's the sun.
On top of this inconsistency, the energy conversion factor is low, and the further this energy has to travel just decreases it.
Figuring out locations where the amount of sunny days per year is adequate and the distance the energy has to travel isn't too far will be a large task.
On top of location, don't forget the manufacturing of solar panels. They use lithium. In case you aren't familiar with problems in the use of lithium, it's highly prevalent in less fortunate countries, often leading to the mistreatment of citizens to harness said energy.
Even with these concerns, the actual widespread implementation of wind turbines and solar panels is not too far-fetched. It's already popping up in all facets of our world, and despite the issues stated above, has a level of success. But hydrogen fuel cells are a different story.
The technology for hydrogen fuel cells exists, even going as far as to have cars operating off of it. But the cost and complications make it difficult. A reality where this actually works is almost unbelievable.
Some of these complications are that hydrogen fuel cells need to be kept in a low temperature and are highly flammable.
On top of this, the idea that they create green energy isn't always true. It takes lots of energy to start the running of a hydrogen fuel cell, and the energy used for this is often fossil fuels. If we are talking about widespread implementation, we might be risking the possibility of an increase in carbon emissions.
But if contributed correctly, the high energy payoff of hydrogen fuel cells makes it more realistic than many other forms of renewable energy.
Wow, wow, wow.
Wow, wow. Whoa! Where am I?
Whoa! Who are you?
I am Arjun, the mad scientist from Equipower, which is always on the edge of technological development. And I am from the future. I've come back to avenge my father, who was slaughtered by Big Oil. I'm going to find the one that's pulling the strings behind the scenes and bring them to justice.
Oh, wow! Okay, but first, since you're from the future, would you mind joining our podcast for a few minutes? We're actually discussing what your time might look like right now, and it would be so sick if you could answer some questions.
Yeah, of course, I have the time.
That's so sick. Let's welcome our guest for the podcast today, the man from the future, a mad scientist.
I am the man of the future, lady.
Well, okay, let's actually get into this interview.
To start off big, did you guys actually stick with the plan of distributed renewable energy to bring us to a green future?
Well, there were many complications, and we're not nearly there yet, but we have gotten closer.
What have been some of the biggest barriers?
I honestly don't really see a problem with it, but people tend to complain about the high taxes that come with the entire world switching to big green. The US's disproportionate wealth to other countries has caused a need for overcompensation from them. Third world countries are kind of forced to pay a bit more than they should due to these taxes, but I don't really see how that's our problem. We're obviously saving the world, so they should be grateful. This has started a high tension as the US has just elected a new president who has an old mindset towards big oil, and she is now threatening to pull out of the Green Future Bill. If that really does happen, it may be the end of my company, Equipower Nexus.
Really?
But don't worry! The strong need for change will overcome silly politics. Aside from politics, manufacturing has become another prevalent issue. As you obviously don't know, hydrogen cars have actually almost fully replaced petroleum cars. But, due to hydrogen's flammable nature, the cars have been catching on fire, although it is less frequent. But don't worry, I've outsourced our technology long ago to Elon Musk, who has uploaded his mind to the Tesla Hive, so we are at no legal fault. But overarching all of it, green energy has become a wealth status for many. Even though it's been mostly implemented widespread, the costs are still high. It has become a source of division among citizens everywhere. And I know this sounds bad, but despite issues in the global shift, the use of wind turbines and solar panels have replaced other forms of energy in the majority of the US, showing that if we overcome challenges, this might work out morally. Anyways, gang, I'm out. I'll maybe see your kids in the future.
Wah, 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 wah. Wow, that was wild. The future seems so cool. Looks like the future is in good hands. That oil guy, not so much.
Yeah, it was so cool learning about hydrogen cars.
With the man of the future gone, I think that just about wraps up the saga of events in this episode.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of The Green Future. This is definitely an interesting one. Make sure to like and subscribe. And we will see you guys in the next one. Logging out.